All right, you guys are in a lot of luck. Tire's a little bit low, so just got done eating lunch and hooked up the old cigarette lighter pump, which will take at least 10 minutes just to get it from 20 pounds to 35. So you guys get another video. This one's gonna be a little bit shorter, but after church, Will and I started talking about the old Universe 25. And just to kind of give you the Cliff Note version, Google it or YouTube it, that'd be your best bet. But it was like in the 60s, a couple of scientists, anthropologists, sociologists, etc. Basically, they created what they were calling a, I touched on this in one of the other videos, I think, but they had touched on, basically, they made a complete paradise that turned into hell for mice. What it basically was is it had ample space for like 4,000 mice. They had anything they wanted. Free food, no stress. Everything was given to them in this beautiful, like enormous, elaborate set of cages so they could go down their own little pathways, etc. And not only that, they painstakingly made sure they had the top of the line genetic, hereditary mice and put them in it. And they said, let's see what happens. Instantly, you know, they were breeding like crazy. They quickly went from like, I think it was like 20 mice, and then they all ended up getting into like multiplying up to about 500, and they were just thriving, got to about, I think it was 1,800. And keep in mind, it would hold about 4,000 comfortably. Well, then they became lethargic. It's like they had no reason to live. They started cannibalizing each other, a lot of homosexual practices, and then the ones they called the beautiful ones, which just ate, had no desire to procreate, do anything except just sit around. And then eventually, every single mouse died. Ouch, that was kind of a bad story. They repeated it several times. Same result, every single mouse died. Even when it went back down to a lower population, it was just like they had no point to live and they died. It was the weirdest thing. And of course, even their findings there applied to today. Yes, we are smarter, at least most of us, than mice. But it does bring up a question, and that's one Will and I was talking, we're talking about Generation Z, Generation X, and the millennials in between us, the alphas. I think it's hilarious that they're calling the generation after Generation Z alpha, which usually means top, like top of the line, like an alpha male. But anyway, and he said he sees a lot of parallels there as far as the lethargic, there's no point in life. All that to say, now that you got a snapshot on Universe 25, and I don't know, I'm not just saying conjecture, because trust me, Generation X, boomers, millennials, none of us are perfect, but what would you say, Will, Universe 25 versus what's happening today, populations dropping and everything? I don't know, do you think it's hyperbole or do you think there's actually some connection?
I'd say to some extent, yes. Also, it's kind of just the ideals that hold up society right now are collapsing. I mean, if you look at the Roman Empire, it's kind of the same thing in the West as what's happening now with the government collapsing. People became, back then they had gladiator fights, now they have football. Back then people are getting obsessed with sex and, doing a bunch of weird stuff and ideas with that. Same things happening now, maybe worse. So you have things like that, but I also do think it's almost to the point now where, so there's like, your money's not real, it's more, there's not anything backing it up, it's just, it's worth that much, but then, if they make a whole bunch more of it, then it's worth a little less. So your money's fake. There's a bunch of jobs now that they have that companies can easily get rid of, but they keep open mainly just so people can have jobs. Not really companies, more the government has, just so people, aren't the homeless. There's not that many people that are homeless because there literally are no jobs.
Government jobs like Bukowski had?
Once in a post office, that's still kind of mandatory, but I mean, Some of the stuff I don't think they really need people to do.
Oh no, they don't. Well, and to your point, who knows what AI is going to throw in the mix of all this other stuff, but with the generation, the Universe 25 thing basically says, look, it's going to have to hit rock bottom before it can kind of come back to fruition. We were talking about that, which kind of related to the sermon today at church. But it's like this anger, hatred on like you said, anything meaningful, Christianity. Everybody's a Christian, Zionist, Christian, nationalist. Regardless if all you're saying is like, I just want to follow Jesus. You bigot! Do you think that, again, do you think it's a coincidence that Generation Z, I think the last poll they had is like, it was kind of a goofy number, like 40% identified as being some sort of LGBTQ plus squiggly line, hashtag, tilde sign, whatever all the other ones are. And it's also the generation that is like hardly any of them go to church, right? So do you think any of that is a coincidence that if one the other, and does it have any kind of coincidence with what happened with Universe 25, or is it just all conjecture?
Well, there's probably going to be some similarities where that, because it's almost to the point now where you really don't have to do anything. I mean, you can just go. They're at least in America, they're putting anyone on disability. You stubbed your toe when you were 3. Okay, here's some money. So pretty much, you really don't have to do anything. So people are choosing not to, for some reason. So in some parts, that's more like Universe 25. But then, with another reason why I think that some of that stuff is growing, is just. Also, again, societal collapses. Normally, weird stuff like this starts to happen. But there's also people. If everything's fake, people are going to start trying to look for something that's real. And it's gotten to the point now because my generation's only they've had the internet with them constantly. It's pretty much everything seems fake, and you don't know what's real because you never had real. You were born when everything was fake. So. That's looking for that, or they're just looking for a community because you have a horrible home life or something. I mean, there's one person that I know that they say that they're gay. They changed their name too, but they lived in a crawl space of a house for like 2 years. Their family was dirt poor. Things like that. They didn't really have any friends. That's more, I think, they were just looking for some kind of a community.
Well, and with that, I think it's interesting that in some ways, the people that are the most well off are kind of the ones that are the most jacked up. And I don't know, it just seems like there's some correlation to simplicity, not having everything given to you on a silver platter, that you have to actually work for it, earn it, and you have to be more content with, just doing the best you can, living a decent life. I don't know, it's almost like we've gotten too spoiled. I don't know, do you think that's any kind of combination? Same thing with the Universe X. Whenever everything was given to the, or Universe 25, everything was given to the mice, it's just like they kind of just said, well, I give up. It's weird. I mean, you wouldn't think that'd be the case, but I don't know. I mean, do you think there's any correlation there as well, or?
Well, in some sense, yes, but also, I mean, I don't know. It may have not been you that said this, but I know some people that said that whenever they were happier is whenever they were poor. Mm-hmm. Not when they were dirt poor, because that's just blatantly bad, but like still being able to scratch out a living but not being wealthy enough where you don't have to worry about things. For some reason, it seems like people are happier whenever they still have to do quite a bit of work for stuff, but not work themselves to death.
No, I can attest to that, because I've said that before. Gina and I, again, I don't want to be living in a crappy little apartment squeaking by, but at the same time, when I asked her, I said, when were you the most content with life? Just happy to be alive. And she will reference when we lived in that crappy little Lindsay apartment, even though neither one of us want to go back to living in a crappy Lindsay apartment, working 2 jobs. But there is something to be said for that. So we don't have it figured out yet, but we're getting there. I'm gonna have to check the tire. I don't want that thing to blow up. It may be already over pressurized anyway. But again, Generation X, Generation Z, and if there was a millennial in here, maybe I'd give them a noogie. But we can still talk about these things. We can still work things out. And I don't know about the alphas. If it keeps going on the current trajectory, they may be speaking such a different language.
Nah, that's already happened.
Hopefully not to the Idiocracy type documentary. I mean, comedy/movie. But we'll see. But again, I think it all starts with a conversation, and again, not being afraid to call a spade, whether it be masculinity, like the video we did last, or this one. So anyway, stay tuned for more words of wisdom with the Stooges. Peace. Say peace, Will. There we go. You don't know what that means.